right, we are back, and I really didn't go anywhere. I was just on, and it's been an amazing week. And I can't, a super shameless plug of the Stronger Together podcast experience, but I have lived it this last really 2 weeks, having so many people come on and learn from so many people, all stemmed around the NiceGate event. And really, two big things happened over the last 2 weeks. One, I had a chance to be accepted and go to this event. And it was like, oh, I'll present. Next thing I know, I'm presenting 4 times. And then next thing I know, my partner, Brian Aspinall, is going to be there, and he's going to talk with the Codebreaker things. And then the next thing you know, we're going to do a book signing. And the next thing you know, Carl Hooker's going to be there and doing some work, part of the X Factor team. And Euritz is going to be there. And I'm just like, my head was spinning. Then I was like, I looked at the list of people that were there, and I was like, I have to meet some of these individuals. And not just because I selfishly want to bring people on the podcast. That is not it. I'm literally doing this so I get to meet cool people. And within that time, I get to share that with anyone who wants to watch. If nobody watches, you know what? I get an opportunity to learn from educators across the country and around the world. And I have an opportunity to learn from different people in especially areas that I am not familiar in, where I'm really curious and excited. Especially our next guest does so many great things that I have never been a part of, and I can't wait to learn from. In this event I've never been to, so I was like, let's make this happen. So before we get going, I want to make sure to, of course, thank Swivel and Bulb, our partners. When I talk about Stronger Together, not just about people, it's about vendors and solution providers and everybody in this educational space doing their part for students and ensuring that we have what we need to build creative, confident students. So thank you for that. And then speaking of building creative, confident students, Tim, I want to welcome you in. I am so thrilled to hear your story. You do so many, your whole banner is creativity, and you have first thing in your Twitter profile is about being an artist. Like, I can't wait to just be a listener. I might have to ask some questions, or there could be some dead air, but I can't wait to hear and learn about your story, your journey, your book. So for those of you who don't know Tim, I'd love for you to share. And I feel like we have so many cross-platform friends that we just always are missing each other at different events. But tell us a little bit about who you are, your background, and what you're doing.
Sure. Thank you so much. And it's a pleasure to be here. I've been watching the podcast and the different guests, so it's been fun to watch. And it's going to be nice because we all get together, next week. So it's amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm a high school art teacher primarily in Smithtown, New York. And I've been doing that. This is my 25th year here in my district of Smithtown. And I'm also an ed tech coach. They call it technology integration specialist here in Smithtown. So I work on the middle school and high school levels, primarily really infusing technology in all different ways and then sneaking in creativity wherever I can. And I also teach college. So I'm an adjunct professor at Five Towns College. And I'm teaching emerging media and film and things like that. So, it's a lot of fun. I get to do a little bit of everything. And I have to say, I've listened to you and I've known you for a long time without ever actually meeting you. So it's like, it's going to be fantastic to actually get to meet you in person.
Yeah. And I tend to gravitate people who are creative and inspiring and seeing the work that you do, because I don't know about it. I don't know that world. I don't know the STEM side of it. I was a third grade teacher and then a elementary principal, and I did get into the ed tech side and do more of the ed tech leadership. But the creative piece, I'm just starting to dabble into. I'm 51 years old. Like, I'm just starting to learn this, and seeing some of the work that you do is awesome. Now that is on Long Island, right? Is that where you live?
Yeah, so I live in the North Shore of Long Island. Actually, I live in the town where you could take the ferry to Connecticut. So it's on the water, and it's not too far from New York City, but far enough away that you get a little bit of everything.
So are you going to fly to this event, or are you going to drive?
I'm going to fly. I thought about driving, and then I'm like, it's November, it's Rochester. I'm going to hit with snow for sure. So I want to be able to make sure I get there. So I'm flying in on Friday.
I was like, I talked to Lori and Guyon, and she's like, oh, come to this event. And I was like, okay, great. I signed up. I got accepted. I was like, oh, let's see. I literally thought it was next to Albany. And then it's like, okay, no, I live near Foxborough. So I'm like, oh, no, that's about 6 hours. Okay, I'm going to take a flight to this. So I'll be flying out Friday night. as well to get there. And I'm totally squatting with poor Carl Hooker. Like, dude, you got a room? Do you got two beds? I'm staying with you.
That's awesome. Well, Carl's
So
always a good time, so that should be fun.
absolutely, that is definitely one of our joint kind of friends that we've never been in the same space together. So what are you doing? And I also saw Nice Skateboard on your Twitter profile. So what do you do with the Nice Skate team?
Yeah, so I'm the Long Island director. So I'm a board member that I kind of help connect all the teachers and educators here on Long Island. And then I've also presented a lot of workshops for them.
Sure.
And they're an ISTE affiliate, so there's so many different. They had an amazing program where they were offering free PD classes online through Canvas, and now we're
Okay.
actually starting that again, which is fantastic. So I'm designing one for creativity, which is going to be really exciting.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So, there's lots of different ways that kind of help members, which is kind of fun.
So speaking of creativity, this is the book. Like it just looks cool, man. It just is like this is cool. So talk to us, and it's always we are in a profession where we're proud of our work in the dark. We don't talk about it. And
Yeah.
it's like we all have to celebrate the great things each of us are doing. So I want you to take a minute and celebrate the work that you're doing in the book STEM Power. Tell us about it.
So, I've been teaching, digital media and art for 25 years. So I really just wanted to take the most successful projects and the things that I've learned and share them out because as a teacher, I think initially when I began, part of me kind of felt like I should hoard all my really good lessons and not share anything. And then I'm like, teaching is about sharing. So just give everything away, just put it all out there. So I decided just to share my favorite lessons, my favorite projects, and a range of different technology, everything from cardboard and free
Okay.
stuff to VR and emerging tech like coding and robotics and things like that. So that's the kind of the idea of the book is it's great if you want to infuse a little bit of STEAM and you haven't done it before, or if you're a STEAM teacher, it's literally 18 lessons that are all really successful with examples.
That's awesome. So STEAM STEM. I hear
Yeah.
this, I see it.
Yeah.
Tell me what's going on with this.
This is the thing. I really wrote the book because of STEAM STEM. And you go to a
Okay.
place and it says STEAM, and then you go to another place that says STEM. So, as a creative person, I understand that I'm really curious about science and technology and engineering and math. I'm curious about all these different subjects, and I just bring that creative lens to it. So
Okay.
that's really, when I wrote the book, obviously I'm an artist, so I believe that the art should be part of it, right? But I wanted to make sure that it was true. So I interviewed people from NASA, I interviewed people from,
Wow.
a lot of these big scientific companies and engineering people that were building apps. And across the board, everyone, I didn't know that NASA hires artists. Um,
Really?
yeah, so people with BFAs come out of school because they need creative thinkers.
What's a
So
BFA?
a BFA is a Bachelor of Fine Arts.
Okay.
So they were literally hiring artists. We all know scientists and engineers and mathematicians are everywhere at NASA, but there's a whole section of artists that were finding creative ways to actually fold the space telescope to put it into a rocket. So they're looking at origami and all of these
Oh my
different art
gosh.
forms, and it's just really interesting. So it was nice because it's I had sort of a thesis that art should be part of it, and then it was nice to hear scientists and engineers say oh yeah, this is design is part of everything, right? So good design, every teacher knows, if you're in a classroom that's designed well, it's just easier to be creative and kind of do interesting things there. If you're in an uncomfortable seat, it's kind of hard to sit there and you know what I mean. It's we have design everywhere, so that is really part of art. And I always look to Leonardo da Vinci, who's the best
Okay.
example of STEAM, because he naturally was really a master of every one of the different disciplines, and he did it because he was interested.
So what interests you?
I'm kind of interested in everything, to be honest. Just
Okay.
I'm a curious person, and that's kind of what's fun about being a teacher is that you have this opportunity to kind of always be learning new things. So when I did the book, I was interviewing NASA, and then I ended up kind of becoming a NASA solar system ambassador, which is
Really?
super cool. Yeah. So and then they're sharing all this information about their different missions and how they plug into technology, and I'm learning all these things and talking to these people that are engineering some of the different robotics and some of the different spaceships. So it's just I feel basically a 5-year-old in an adult body, kind of having fun, kind of learning about all these things.
Wow. So it says you're a creative learner right behind you.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what, for me, seeing the work that you do, seeing the work, for me, seeing Daphne from Codebreaker and different creators, seeing Lori's presentation, I'm doing a session
Yeah.
with her and she shared the slide deck. And I'm like, ooh, I can't keep up with that level of creativity. Like what is it about the creative process that excites you?
Yeah, like that's a really good question. I think like I understand the world around me through the creative process. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm sure like this is a big thing because a lot of people come into my class and even their students' parents and other colleagues and they say like, well, I'm not really creative, and I'm like, that's not
That
really
must
true.
drive you crazy.
Yeah, I think it's like understanding, how creativity works is really helpful because, it like my dad was a landscaper for years and it's like, he was really creative. Like, like there's all different ways to be. There's mailmen that are creative. You don't need to be an artist to be a creative person. I think, being an innovator in any kind of way, which you certainly are,
Oh, yeah.
really helps, like you're thinking different and you're kind of there's a mentality of being okay with failure, sort of accepting that, and persevering and reflecting on it. And I think that's a really big part because initially, like everyone wants to be successful right away, and
Okay.
we all know that that's not really the way anything works unless you're just really lucky or have a
Right.
natural talent. So I think it's like the ability to persevere and have that endurance to kind of like learn and reflect and so that process is really core to being creative. I think as an artist we come natural to it because I'm playing with different media. Like I'm trying to make art in
Sure.
VR the other day and it's like it's the coolest thing ever. Like and sometimes it's a big mess but it's a lot of fun. And I think enjoying the whole path is really key because it's not all about the final product. All of the learning happens during that process.
Yeah, the celebration of the journey and
Yeah.
making mistakes. And I remember, again, I'm old, so I was fortunate to come into the profession right when technology was coming into the classroom, and I was actually one of the first people in Massachusetts to launch a one-to-one district. I mean, we're talking 18 years ago at this point. And I had the good fortune to go up to Maine when they launched theirs. Maine, the wireless learning initiative, we did the same thing in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. But I remember in like year two, then we got a new superintendent. And at this time, again, when I say these things out loud, you can be like, oh, that's archaic. But like we were building web quests and we were using, GarageBand. And at the time, I'm like, whoa, this is like earth shattering. And then a new superintendent came in and said, well, the computers are for testing. That's what using computers for.
Yeah.
And one of the sessions you're doing at Nightscape is creativity on a Chromebook or a tablet. So
Yeah.
when somebody says, how are you creative on a computer? Like I can see the artwork, I can see drawing. How are we doing it on a device? What's your session going to be about, and how can we be creative on computers?
The irony that I've learned is that one of the best ways to be creative is actually have limitations, right? So, like, we all experienced this in the pandemic because it's like everyone had limitations. Like, all of a sudden, I was teaching online, and like, you're
Right.
stuck. Like, how do you connect with kids? Like, you have to be creative. There's no choice. And I think that the Chromebook is a good opportunity to be creative. And I think, there are some limitations, but there's some things that it does really well. So I'm just going to share all of the different tools and all the different projects that I have found really boost students engagement and creativity. So everything from like creating animations, like we did a lot of
Okay.
like fun animations. We do a lot of like design work, so like things like PSAs. You're able to edit video really well, and you're able to kind of infuse. Like, one of my favorite things about my position now as an ed tech coach is that I'm able to go into like any classroom and like see opportunities. Like, okay, this is a really good opportunity to like, what if we added a visual to this? And it engages some students that like, yeah, I remember being in math class and I just was never particularly it never came easy to me.
Okay.
But then I got an opportunity. The teacher asked us to actually create a visual one time for math, and it's like, boy, that changed everything. And now I'm paying a little bit more attention and I feel more valued as a member of the class, and it just changed your whole perspective. And that's one of the things that creativity could do, especially when you infuse it to something like the Chromebook.
So yeah, and I think that's important. And one of the things, like 2 weeks ago, somewhere in there, I had the team from Canva come on the Codebreaker Lounge, and I saw some things there. And again, this might not be to the level of creativity that you're used to, but starting to build infographics and really getting excited about that. And one of the sessions you're doing is on Adobe. Now, that's definitely something I've never tried yet, but for those individuals who want to take that session or come to that, what's that one all about?
Well, that's really like I'm going to show really how you could use Adobe. And like Adobe is a really interesting tool. So Adobe Express does a lot of the you could do infographics, posters, you could create your own logo really quick. So like it does
Really?
business things. There's an amazing artificial intelligence aspect where you could create a logo really easily and you don't need to have a huge amount of, comfort with design or art. So
Okay.
I'm going to be sharing all of those kind of things. The poster that I have right here, I created with my class in Adobe. So, you
Sweet.
know, this is like one of those projects that I think it's really helpful to kind of create a brand for your class, right? So, like, this is something I
Yeah.
do in the beginning of the school year. We work as a class and say, like, all right, what do we believe in? What are we going to do? We designed it, we made the poster, and then we turned it into augmented reality. So you could point
Wow.
your phone at it, and then it turns into a video with animation and the kids.
That's amazing. And now I remember, and just going what you said about being creative or creating logos and visuals. I remember my first year. So I was a principal. So the story of the whole superintendent coming in and saying, I'm going to, so me and my kind of bullish personality, it's like, you know what, then I'm going to go be a principal somewhere. Um, which didn't go so great in the district I was in. So I got a principal role in a different district. And I was in way over my head. I was like, "Oh crap! This is not." I've never been a principal. I shot my mouth off. Somebody gave me a break because I worked with Apple, and they're like, "This guy's going to bring." And I was like, "I don't know how to be an instructional leader. I knew how to be a rah rah guy." But what saved me, I mean this, was I walked in and the school, Hill Roberts Elementary School up here in Massachusetts in Attleboro, and I looked around and I didn't see a logo. And I was like, what are we? We're the Hill Roberts what? Like I can grab out of this. And they're like, we're nothing. I'm like, okay, I can't teach you about the curriculum yet, but I can help you with the logo. And we had a school vote. We became the Hill Roberts Huskies. And then we had a design challenge for the logo, and we were blue and white. We're the hunter, the husky. Like it took off. I am where I'm at today because of a little blue dog, Hunter the Husky, because I gravitated to that level of connection with people, creating a logo, creating colors. So when you talk to principals, you talk to leaders, and how can you express through your creativity lens the importance of that in schools?
It's huge. I just finished my administration degree, so I know this really well.
Good.
So,
That's why I wanted to cue you up here. Talk to us.
yeah, so like, it's really amazing because I think that your example is perfectly accurate because it's like it's a great way to unify people. I mean, like design really pulls people together if it's done well. I've seen like if you go through like the Twitter sphere and all the great educators out in social media, there's people like Glenn Robbins and things like that, and there's
Mhm.
different people like they're designing their school, like the murals, the look, the feel. One of the best projects I ever did, and one that I always suggest teachers try, is to actually redesign your classroom, right? So to
Okay.
make the classroom space fit what you're teaching. So it tends to be often like eggshell white or something like that. And you
Boring.
want to reflect what you're
Just
teaching. So
like
like
this.
you want creative, yeah. It's like you want creativity. Like you need to like add some color. And like if you look at places like Google or Adobe or any of these big companies today, they're really fun places to work. There's lots of
Mhm.
plants, there's lots of light, there's lots of color, and it looks playful. And I think that makes a difference in your everyday. So like it's just like when we choose a car, you want to choose a car that kind of reflects a little bit of who you are.
Sure.
Teachers should take license of that and like work with the students and really collaborate to make it a safe that space that everyone is part of, and then the students take ownership as well. And I think we started doing that, and then we branched out to the school and like redesigned some of the courtyards. And we, so like, these are all sort of great STEAM lessons because we're able to, it's a little bit of math, it's a little bit of design, and it also has this great community aspect. And then it just kept on rolling out to the community, and we started doing things in the town. So it's always a great project to kind of take on the things that you deal with every day and look at the design. We know when something's designed poorly,
Oh yeah.
and then like that's a great project to have students like just redesign the desk they're sitting in. Like if it's not comfortable, like how could you make it better? And I think just the process of doing that teaches a great lesson, which is that don't just accept everything around you, you could make a difference. I think, it gives some students the ability to sort of like think differently in that aspect.
No, and I think I'm psyched to hear you got your administrative degree. We need, I'm on the back nine. I've been a principal, been a district leader. Now it's like they're phasing the me's out. They need individuals like you coming in with this excitement and energy and ideas. It's so important for our learners. So one of the things I did want to ask, because I would run into this all the time. So I was an elementary principal for 11
Okay.
years, and bringing in technology and trying different things, I'd always hear, well, that's great when we're done with reading, or that's great when they get to middle school. Like, how are our youngest learners diving into creativity with digital learning or however we do it? It's not just a middle school elective course.
Yeah.
Our kindergartners need to be doing some of this. How are we getting our elementary kids into the creative process?
And there's lots of I love working with elementary kids because it's like they're just naturally kind of dive into anything they do, which is great. And it's funny, like, in Nicegate, I'm doing a TED talk. So,
Okay.
I'm part of their TED program, and this is part of my talk, actually. So
Look at, I don't even know
yeah,
this stuff. This is just, but it just shows you what people are craving. Like, I want to learn
yeah.
this stuff.
Yeah, so I think, like, a big part of doing this is like putting connection before curriculum. You know what I
Mm,
mean? So I think that especially with young kids, it's like they're naturally, like, when you're young, you're naturally creative. Like, not, like you're drawing all over the place, and you're kind of like people are singing or dancing, and like, you're just full of life. And then at some point, the socialization kind of like damps that back a little bit. And one of the things I like to do as a teacher is like bring it back out and say, like, it's
okay.
okay to be creative. I love singing karaoke. It doesn't mean I'm a
Awesome.
good singer, but
Yes.
like, there's something that it's good for the soul. Like, you feel good when you're doing it. It's a lot of fun. You don't need to be super talented at any of these creative things to do them. And I think you learn from them, and just understanding the process. Like, you try coding, you don't need to be a coder, but like understanding how it works is helpful in the rest of your life. You don't know where that's going to come in. So with young kids, I love to actually take on really authentic assignments. So we look at their community and what's important to them. We're doing a storm drain mural at a elementary school
Okay.
this month. So we actually designed the mural with kids to kind of show, like, the water that goes down the storm drain ends up right back in your drinking water. So you want to make sure you keep it clean. So we designed a mural. We actually worked with the town to actually make sure that we're using the right kind of paint that is environmental. So, like, each step of the way, they're kind of learning that, you know, not just design and creativity, but also a little bit about science and technology and engineering and math, and how some of these things work. And also, the process of, like, if you want to make a change in your community, here's the first step. Like, just kind of go out and, that process of learning how to actually make a difference is something that and makes a change in a kid's life forever.
Absolutely. So, if you haven't had a chance, head on over to Tim's Twitter account. You'll find a link right to this book. I can't wait to. Is it going to be at the Nicegate bookstore?
Yeah, I'm actually doing a book signing right in right after yours, I think. So yeah,
All right,
we'll go
good,
back
because
to back.
I want to pick this up and I want to connect with you about it. Make sure if you are not at Nicegate, head over to his Twitter account, which he has right here. Grab a copy of the book. I have two last questions for you. One, what's your go-to karaoke song?
Ah, well, I'm Long Island, so like I usually go to Billy Joel.
Okay.
But
Any one particular?
there's Anthony's song is a favorite of mine for sure.
Okay. Yeah, because I know, Carl's Humpty Dance. I
Yeah,
love Living on a Prayer. I was just down in Austin when I was there, sang with Jenna Lee. We did a little Living on a Prayer. We had a
that's
blast.
awesome.
It's so much fun. Question number two, I ask all our guests, what does stronger together mean to you?
I mean, Stronger Together to me is all about education, right? So, as teachers, we are our own best allies. So, like, helping each other and working together is really, beneficial to everyone. I think, there's things like climate change that could potentially make this impact on our world. And, in education, we have an opportunity every single day to change lives and to help each other.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so glad we were able to sneak this in. and get a chance to meet. I cannot wait to get up there. I've never been. I've been hearing about it for years. I'm friends with Lisa Nelson from New York City, back in the tech and learning time. She's like, you got to come up. You got to come up. And I was like, it just never seemed to fit with the schedule. And this year I made it a priority, and I'm excited to be a part of it, to get a chance to meet you. And many other people I kind of feel like I know, but have never been in the same zip code together. So I look forward to that and getting a chance to connect with all of you. So thank you for coming on tonight.
Thank you.
And we'll look forward to seeing you hopefully in a couple days.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be here before we know it.
Yeah, it's Wednesday, Thursday we wake up, and I fly out Friday. So snow, stay away from Boston and Rochester. And I want to make sure to get there and have a great couple days collaborating, learning, and getting a chance to meet amazing and impactful people like you, Tim.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. And for our listeners, continue to keep checking in. We had a huge week this week. So many people to learn from. And as we continue to connect and stay together, remember, we stay stronger together when we put we over me.